Captain Henry Wolfe had always believed that winter had a sound to it. Not the crack of branches under frost or the whisper of wind through pine needles, but a deeper, almost mournful hum that settled in the bones. On the night that hum grew loudest, he stood alone at the edge of the snow-covered airstrip in eastern Belgium, watching the silvered breath of his P-38 Lightning curl into the blackness like smoke from a dying fire. It was December 19th, 1944, and the Ardennes forests lay under a blanket of fresh snow so pristine it felt like a lie. Only the faint, distant thunder of artillery rolling across the front hinted at the truth. The Germans were coming, fast, and no one was ready for it. Henry ran a hand along the Lightning's twin booms, feeling cold metal bite through his gloves. He was 30, older than most pilots in the 20th Fighter Group, a man shaped more by silence than swagger. He carried the calm of someone who had lived long enough to understand how fragile survival could be, a calm that others mistook for distance. But he wasn't distant. He was just tired. So tired.
Here they come.
Of the war,
showing the
of
enemy
the letters
exactly
he wrote to families he'd never meet, of the quiet guilt that lived behind his ribs like a second heartbeat. He had lost his younger sister to illness just before enlisting, and though it had nothing to do with Germany or planes or front lines, Henry carried her memory like a compass, pointing towards something he could never reach again. His wingman, Lieutenant Aaron Finch, approached with a half-frozen grin and 2 steaming cups of something the mess hall called coffee, only out of misplaced optimism. "Command wants us up before dawn," Aaron said, handing Henry one of the tin cups. "Scouts report armor movement near St. Vith. Could be nothing, could be ghosts, could be the entire German army." Henry took a slow sip, the bitter liquid burning pleasantly down his throat. "Ghosts don't fire artillery," he said. Aaron's smile faltered. Nobody could pretend the situation was just another routine winter patrol.
Let's move.
Rumors had been spreading all day. German tanks appearing where no tanks should be, infantry slipping through forests that should have been impenetrable, whole towns going silent without warning. The Battle of the Bulge had begun, though no one yet had a name for it.
What is the projected
Henry
ceiling
didn't
over the
sleep
channel?
when he returned
front
to
is
his
nice and
quarters.
narrow.
The front is
Instead, he
accelerating
sat on the
southeast,
edge of
gentlemen.
his cot,
Expect heavy icing
staring
above
at the
10,000
frost on
feet
the
near the
window pane
convergence
while
zone.
the wind moaned
about the
outside
turbulence,
like
flight?
something
Echo
wounded.
7 reporting.
He thought of his
Coordinates updated.
sister's last
920
winter, how she used to
Charlie
press
Lima
her
Victor.
hands to the
Acknowledged.
cold glass and marvel at the stars.
Base, this is
They look
Operator
brighter
7.
in
I
the
am
cold,
transmitting new
she'd said
coordinates.
once.
Location is grid
He wished
45,
she could have
2,
seen tonight's sky,
91.5.
sharp, endless, burning with a million frozen pinpricks. He wished he had told her more, about the way he admired
Keep
her
her coming
quiet
slow. Watch the
courage,
center line.
about how she was the
Steady
only
now,
one who had
steady.
ever understood why he loved the sky. Before the first thin line of dawn broke over the treetops, Henry and Aaron were already in the cockpit, engines roaring, wheels kicking up plumes of powder as they raced down the runway. The P-38 lifted effortlessly, slicing into the pale blue gloom with predatory grace. The forest below looked peaceful from above, its snow-draped branches hiding the violence creeping through them.
Get that engine
Henry
cowling
scanned the
secure.
horizon, his fingers
Watch the
steady on the
starboard wing,
controls,
lots of ice.
though a tension coiled in his chest like a drawn bowstring. Getting a reading, Aaron radioed. Looks like a convoy, multiple vehicles, eastbound. Henry banked sharply, the lightning responding like an extension of his own body. Let's confirm. He descended through wisps of low cloud until the tree line stretched out beneath them like a fractured, shadowed sea. Then they saw it. A line of German armor pushing through the forest road, engines dark, muffled by the snow. 24 tanks at least, each one painted with whitewash to blend into the frost. Henry felt his pulse spike. They're moving fast. Too fast. Before he could call it in, tracers lanced up from hidden flak guns. A burst exploded to their right, rattling the lightning like a kicked hornet's nest. "They were ready for us," Aaron shouted, "breaking left." Henry pulled into a tight climb, the twin engines screaming as more flak blossomed around them like black, burning flowers. For a moment, he couldn't see anything. Not the sky, not the trees, just smoke and fragments and the sickening roll of the plane fighting to hold position. "Henry? Henry, you still with me?" Aaron's voice crackled through static. Henry steadied his breathing. "I'm here. Form up on my wing." They circled wide, staying high, hidden above the cloud line. Henry knew they needed to report the convoy immediately, but part of him hesitated. Something didn't feel right. The armor wasn't just advancing, it was waiting, baiting, luring reconnaissance flights into kill zones. He imagined dozens of other pilots across the Ardennes flying into similar traps, unaware that the enemy had moved with precision no one expected. He made his decision. "Command won't believe a single flight report. We need proof. We go back down." Aaron hesitated. "Second pass is suicide. So is letting those tanks reach St. Vith," he replied. He angled the lightning downward again, swallowing his fear like ice water. They slipped below the cloud layer once more, weaving between flak bursts, cameras rolling as they documented the armored column. Tanks, half-tracks, artillery carriers, evidence that would change the entire battlefield assessment. But the Germans weren't about to let them leave. A burst hit Aaron's tail. His plane lurched violently, smoke pouring from the right engine. "I'm losing control," Aaron choked. "Henry, Hold steady," Henry snapped, diving towards him. The forest rushed up like a tidal wave of black and white. Aaron fought the controls, but his lightning dipped lower, clipping treetops, shedding metal fragments as it spiraled. His chest tightened in panic. "Bail out! Do it now!" But Aaron didn't answer. The lightning slammed into a frozen ravine in an eruption of snow and flame. Henry's scream tore through the cockpit, raw and animal, but the radio carried only a burst of static. He circled in a tight and frantic loop, watching the wreck burn, praying for movement, anything, any sign. But the fire swallowed everything. German troops were already converging on the crash site. Henry's breath fogged the inside of his canopy as rage eclipsed his grief. Without thinking, he dove. He strafed the advancing soldiers, guns roaring in controlled bursts, carving lines of fire into the snow. The Germans scattered, returning fire with rifles and machine guns that pinged uselessly off his armored hull. But Henry didn't care. He wanted them terrified. He wanted them running. Only when the fires dimmed and the Germans fell back into the trees did Henry finally level out, shaking violently. He was alone now. One pilot, one plane, one impossible mission. And yet he flew straight into the rising dawn, climbing higher, pushing the engines to their limits, determined to bring word back before the Germans erased their trail. His fuel was low, his oxygen mask frosted at the edges, his vision tunneled in and out, but he kept climbing, kept pushing, kept fighting the weight pressing against his chest like grief made physical. When he finally burst through the cloud layer, sunlight struck the canopy, flooding the cockpit with a blinding gold that felt almost holy. He shielded his eyes, breath hitching. For a heartbeat, he thought of his sister, standing at the window, marveling at winter's stars. He whispered, "They do shine brighter in the cold." He reached the airfield with fumes in the tank. Mechanics swarmed the lightning as Henry stumbled out, collapsing to his knees. Officers rushed in. "Report," Major Keats shouted. Henry forced the words out through raw, cracked lips. "Armored division, moving on St. Vith. Dozens of tanks. They'll break the line if we don't stop them." Keats froze, realizing the gravity. "Get this man to medical," he barked. Henry grabbed his sleeve. "Send everything," he whispered. "Everything you have." Within the hour, Allied artillery repositioned, infantry dug in, fighter groups scrambled, bombers warmed on the tarmac, and when the German armor broke through the tree line towards St. Vith at midday, expecting the undefended flank they had engineered, they found instead a wall of steel and fire waiting for them, a defense born from one man's refusal to let the sky take another friend
This
without a
low-pressure
fight.
system is accelerating.
As shells screamed across the frozen forest and tanks burst into plumes of black smoke, Henry lay in the infirmary, drifting in and out of sleep, unaware that the battle had shifted because of him, that his desperate flight had bought an entire town enough time to hold the line. He awoke at dusk with the soft glow of lantern light and the quiet murmur of nurses. Snow fell outside in gentle swirling patterns. For the first time in days, the hum of winter felt less mournful, softer, almost peaceful. Henry closed his eyes, picturing his sister's face, and allowed himself a moment of stillness. Somewhere far off,